Good evening, everybody. I'm Devoid. This is Revatheist, and we're back for episode 30 of Redacted, a live podcast where we talk about Star Citizen and its development. What are we talking about today, Rev?
Well, we're going to talk about the next couple of patches, right? So, the point 2a patch, which I think just went live, which is great. I haven't had a chance to get in there and play with it yet. And point 3, which is where we're expecting a lot of the newer stuff, the all the IAE stuff, new ships and stuff to be put in. And then I don't know, maybe some talking about some other stuff. I think you have some ideas about some other stuff we're going to talk about.
Yeah, a little bit. A little bit. 324.2a did just go live. Now, as far as I know, this particular patch isn't super crazy. I think it's mostly just a stability patch. But I
Yeah,
think it also brings in the Save Stanton event. Am I correct in
yeah,
that?
yeah. I believe that's right. Definitely a stability patch, quality of life, just clearing up some of the bugs and the issues that have been happening. And then, of course, um, probably the majority, if not the majority of the work for IAE, although not the ships. And then, yeah, the event, the Stanton event.
Yeah. So the Save Stand-in event. Let's talk about that for just a minute, right?
Yeah.
This is an event that was actually announced 3 weeks ago in a PTU patch. So we've known about it for a little while. It just sort of got overshadowed, I think, by CitizenCon and all of the kerfuffle following that. But let's take a step back and let's talk about it a little bit, right? Save Stanton. Now, I personally haven't had a chance to play this because 24.2 just went live. I didn't play around in the PTU, but it's kind of cool. It's if you're familiar with the Overdrive set of missions, the Overdrive event that I did a little while ago for the F7A Mark II reveal, then this is going to play out similarly to that, right? So this is an event that seems like it's going to last a few days at the very least, and it has these same progression of missions that the Overdrive event had. It's introducing a new gang, which we know very little about, which is kind of cool for people like me who are into the lore, called the Slicers. Hence the title of our stream today, Slicin and Dicin. It's an event that I don't know if it's foreshadowing hacking gameplay or if it's just what they decided to do. But the
Mhm.
Slicers are a gang that seem to be intelligent when it comes to things like hacking and computers and stuff. And so this event is focused around you stopping them from hacking into some things and gaining access to some sensitive material.
Yes, yeah. So
Um,
that's very much like the Overdrive event was. Did you do the Overdrive? You did, right?
I did. I absolutely did. Yeah, I busted them all out in one night. Actually, there toward the end.
Oof. Yeah, no, those were super fun actually. Um,
Yeah, I think
I am
the
interested to see what the what exactly the mechanics are for this particular event because Overdrive was a nice shift from the combat centric missions of the past. There was plenty of combat, but the
Mhm.
goal wasn't combat. The combat was incidental to the goal, and I thought that was
Right.
kind of nice.
Right. Yeah. Overdrive was cool because they had, I think, five different missions, and each of those missions had its own different goal. Some of them were combat oriented, some of them were not. Right. And it's based on what I've read, it seems the Save Stanton event is the same. Right. There are like shipping and hauling missions in this Save Stanton event, as well as what appear to be more combat focused events. Where you have to sabotage the gangs, presumably stop them from doing something. Right. So it seems like it's going to be a really good kind of mix and match. And then there's the question of what are the event rewards. The last time they did something like this was Overdrive, and they put the F7A Mark II out on sale. They also put the F7C Mark II, and they gave the upgrade token for those of the F7C Mark One owners in order to be able to upgrade, right? And so the question is, what are they going to put as rewards here? Some people are thinking they're gonna put the F7A back in the store. Other
Mm,
people are thinking that there might be some cosmetic rewards, such as armors, which
you
is
know,
something that they've done in the past.
they're so stuck on the Hornet. Maybe they will do another Hornet upgrade.
Here, I'm gonna. This
We've only
is
got a million
related to some.
hornets out there now. Jesus.
Yeah, I know, right? Let me see. I'm gonna read this really quick. I have this. This is related to the Safe Stanton event. Uh, the Civilian Defense Force is being mobilized to help defend Stanton from the Slicers, who have launched another series of brazen attacks, this time on distribution centers across the system. Although we initially believed that these attacks were to disrupt trade, intel indicates the Slicers are attempting to access sensitive information and transfer the data to nearby ships. That means it's absolutely vital to respond to an attack as swiftly as possible. Local security services stretched thin. The CDF is being asked to step in and support. So it looks like there's cargo retrieval, some sort of bunker raid, and there's probably going to be, just like the Overdrive event, some sort of hacking gameplay, or maybe you have to counter hack, or maybe you have to shut down servers or something, which is kind of cool. Kind of cool.
Yeah.
And it looks like it's going to take place at the big distribution centers. So it's probably going to be fairly widespread. I don't know if it's going to take place at the forward operating bases littered around. That'd be kind of cool. Get some ground vehicle gameplay in. Maybe there's somebody in chat who's actually played this event through, who could kind of help us out here. But it'll be cool to see. I'm excited for more of these dynamic events, especially at these larger locations. I did pull up Galactopedia because I
Yeah.
was curious. There's still nothing on the slicers, so given that I'm a bit of a lore buff, I'm pretty excited to see what the slicers turn out to be. This is a brand new gang that we've never ever heard of before. So that'll be kind of cool. I like the idea of all these rival gangs all over the place, and especially in Stanton. Hopefully, we see more of them in Pyro too. But yeah, that's 324.2a. Rev, you talked about this being sort of the preliminary IAE patch as well.
Mm-hmm.
It's
Yeah.
pretty much everything but the ships, which is cool. We're going to talk about that a little bit. IAE is around the corner. We know that end of this month into December.
Yep. There are
Um,
obviously some ships that we know should be coming out along with IAE.
mhm.
Obviously, we've got the Polaris, which has been announced. It's been committed. We're waiting for that to come out. Believe that's going to be coming out in the 0.3 patch. And then, of
Mhm.
course, the Starlancer Max. We know that that's
Yep.
coming out. I think also that they're planning on that one coming out here. Is that also with the 0.3 patch?
That'll be an IAE ship for sure. Yeah, yeah. The Max
Yeah.
is coming out here pretty soon. The TAC is a little bit later, and then the build is going to be way down the line. But the Max is here real soon. Yeah. I think part of why they're kind of separating these two patches, right? In the past, they've had like their content patch and then their IEE patch. They've kind of divided them this year, right? They just put out the 24.2 patch, which is like a preliminary patch, and they've been putting 23 in the PTU, and they just put out a PTU patch today that has like the expo halls, right? But there's
Right.
something important to note about today's patch and all the other patches is they don't have any ships in there yet, right?
Yeah, that's like they got wise. They got wise. They want to have a
Right.
surprise ship. They don't put the files in there. They don't put the ships in the
Exactly. Yeah.
files. You can't mine them.
They're not putting
So
any
all
files
those
of the ships in
so
there.
all the leakers
Um,
are probably going, ah, son of a bitch.
exactly. All the data miners are in there. So we know that there's some cool ships coming. CIG did put out a sneak peek just a couple of days ago. Now, Rev, I'm actually going to pull this up. I know that we didn't test for this,
That's
but
okay.
see if you can share my screen here really quick. I need to get you. I need to get you a link. I am not prepared. That's fine.
That's okay. You just got to start up. Just start it up, and
Yeah, that's okay. Easy peasy.
it's all up to you now
Screen
to do the right thing. Because if you do the right thing, we're good to go.
should be good.
All right. Boom. There it is.
Perfect. Here it is. So this is the sneak peek, right? And so there's been a lot of speculation about what the hell is this thing. Now there, a lot of people are saying, "Oh, it's the Polaris." I've heard other people say, "Oh no, it's too square. That's the ironclad, right?" I think all we know is that it's pretty sizable, right? I don't think it's either of those ships. In fact, I don't think this is a ship that we have seen at all. I think this is something all new, and I think this sneak peek represents a big reason why they haven't put ships in 323 yet
Yep.
because They want to keep something in the back pocket, and then they want to have something to surprise us with. Um, with that in mind, Rev, do you have any idea as to what that ship could be?
Well, looking at it, the shape of it to me, it looks Argo. I think you were saying it didn't look orange, but I think you can't tell because of the the light coming onto it, kind of that glare.
Hmm.
So maybe it's orange, maybe it's not. It could also be just like a really dark hull. Don't know. Um, but if it is Argo, then I'm thinking an Argo salvage. Um, just kind of based on some of the shapes up in the front. It's got some geometry that is reminiscent of like the reclaimer's claw. That's making me think maybe a salvage. Um, Other than that, I don't really have a good guess. I like to think that, and I know this isn't true necessarily, but I like to think that CIG is always thinking about filling the gaps. I think we might have talked about that a little bit last week. That like, oh well, where's a gap in our offerings, and
Yeah,
having like a kind of a mid-size salvager in between the vulture and the reclaimer. I think there's room in there for a ship, and that looks
definitely.
like maybe
Yeah.
that might be something that would fit in that range. Alternatively, it does look industrial. Looks super industrial to me. Uh, could be another cargo ship. Gosh, I hope not. We've got lots of cargo ships now, all kinds of cargos.
We do. Yeah,
Could be an explorer, maybe an Argo explorer of some kind. Wouldn't
that would
that
be
be
something.
something?
That would
Yeah.
be something. I'm with you actually. I know I said, oh, it doesn't look orange. I still don't think it looks orange. I think that's the sunset. But I mean,
But the
could it
shapes, right? The shapes look
the
Argo
shapes?
to me.
It is pretty square, right? It is pretty square. I do think that it's roughly that size, the same size as something like a raft or the mole,
Right.
right?
Right.
And if we were to see like an Argo salvage ship, it would be in that line. I think the mole, you have the raft, you have the whatever the fuck this is, right?
Yeah. So,
Um,
but given the geometry, clearly it's not Misk.
no,
Not Misk. It's it could be Anvil.
but I'm gonna throw us for a loop here.
Hmm.
Okay. Pull up this picture again. Pull up this picture again. I want us to look at the bottom. Okay. In fact, it's blurry because it's not an amazing picture here. But look at the bottom where my mouse is here. Do you see what I'm kind of circling here?
Yeah.
Now there's something, and maybe I'm getting carried away here. Maybe it's just because it hasn't touched down yet. But that almost looks reminiscent to me of the hovering landing gear of the Nomad. And so could this be some sort of consolidated Outland ship that we haven't seen yet?
Huh.
Because it's got the same color scheme. It's kind of industrial looking. We know the Nomad has these sort of blue lights right here, right? And with the angles that I'm seeing here, it's a little bit kind of awkward for a landing gear. But if it's hover tech that consolidated Outland uses on ships such as the Nomad, maybe this is a larger consolidated Outland ship.
That would be something because I mean, they don't really have anything that's of that scale yet that I can think of. They're all pretty much ground vehicles and yeah, like the Nomad, smaller ships. So to
Right?
have something of that
Exactly.
scale that's a consolidated outland, that would be super cool.
That would be fantastic, and it would help kind of open the door and establish design language coming into ships like the Pioneer, which we know we're getting in the somewhat. I'm air quoting. You can't see me because we have the screen up, but I'm air quoting somewhat near future. Okay.
That was a hint. I'll take the hint.
We know that we're getting the Pioneer in the somewhat near future, and we know that the ship design teams have been really, really like focusing on establishing design language for these manufacturers. And so, maybe this is just an unannounced consolidated outland ship to help refine that before we get a ship like the Pioneer in, right? But that's kind of where I'm at, right? I don't think it's a Drake ship because we've got a couple of those coming out here. Could still be that Argo ship, but those landing gears are kind of throwing me off a little bit.
Yeah,
Um,
well, and the reason that I suggested maybe Anvil is, I'm thinking about like the I always lose the words, the dropship, the Anvil dropship that I love so much.
the Valkyrie.
The Valkyrie. Some of the shapes are kind of kind of reminiscent of like a
A little bit,
Valkyries, you know,
a little bit, a
with
little bit.
those. So
So there's something that we have to keep in mind, and now we're getting a little bit deeper into a ship talk, and we can move on soon. But ships like the Valkyrie were built before they had this restructure in ship design, and establishing these design languages. And with Anvil specifically, right? What we really have to pay attention to is going to be ships like the Hornet and the Lightning, right? Because that's kind of the first steps into this refined sort of language that we're going to be seeing from them. And so, if we can see a larger ship from Anvil, right? What would that look like by today's standard? And I think you might be onto something, right? It's kind of got this dark hull. It's got these sort of sharp, angular edges. Maybe I'm not going to say no. Maybe I'm not hugely convinced, but it would be cool. Be cool. Um. Anyway, beyond that, right? We've got some exciting news that's for this week. As we know, we have gone a little bit of time without weekly videos from CIG. It happens every year. They do Citizen Con, so they put things on hold. But this week, we're getting a new Inside Star Citizen and a new Star Citizen Live.
yep.
Uh, it's not. I wouldn't say it's a hugely exciting week, but it's nice to be getting those back. The Inside Star Citizen is just going to be behind the scenes look at Citizen Con, which for those of you interested in the setup and what it takes to run that event, it'd be a cool watch. I think. I think it gives you a little bit of insight as to why they do the things they do, and I think they did something similar last year. It was a pretty cool watch. But the Star Citizen Live is going to be pretty cool. I'm sure by now all of us have seen the Citizen Con panels, right? And so Star Citizen Live this year is going to be a Q&A on a very specific panel, Dressed to Kill. And they recently put out a patch, or not a patch, they put a post out on Spectrum here just a couple of minutes ago asking for questions that they can ask during Star Citizen Live. And so I'd like to take a little bit of time, Rev, and talk about that, right?
Okay.
As a bit of a refresher, the Dress to Kill panel is where we saw things like specialist armors and clothing. It's where we also saw things like the Fauna Index and the monster hunting campaign against the Valakar on Pyro 2. So this was kind of a wide range of panels, and now they're asking for a bunch of questions that can be answered. So maybe there were some things that we did not get to, that weren't answered that we were hoping to see. In fact, I've got a whole bunch of these questions up, and so I figured we could ask a few to ourselves, try to answer them as best we can based on what we know. Not that we're CIG or anything, and then maybe come up
Definitely
with some of our
not.
own. And so I've got this here. Looking for questions. Star Citizen Live, Citizen Con 2954, Dress to Kill Q&A. So I'm just gonna kind of scroll straight down here. One of the first questions, and this is a good one. We saw a lot of combat suits here, but how are engineering slash mining slash industrial suits looking? Good question. And Rev, how do you think that something like that might work out, given that we've, based on how we've seen the combat suits
Well,
working?
the industrial stuff and the mining stuff. I mean, I can see lots of value in having pockets, I guess. Definitely for like gathering resources. You go out and you start picking stuff. You have all these nice little pockets to put things in and to gather things with. But engineering, I don't know about engineering so much, right? Because to me, like engineering, like have a belt with some tools on it. But I don't know, man.
So,
They've also talked about certain outfits, certain types of clothing, giving you like bonuses for doing certain types of actions, certain types of behaviors. So like an engineering suit theoretically is supposed to somehow help you do engineering. Now, what does that look like? I haven't the foggiest idea. Does that mean that you're better at using a repair gun? Does that mean I don't know, you're faster at like swapping out
so
fuses? What is that?
I'm gonna chime in here a little bit. I think you're taking this a little bit too too literal in a game sense, right? You're thinking like skill trees, and I think part of this presentation at CitizenCon was to show that they want to get away from that. They don't want it. They had that 2023 presentation where they're like, oh, you're going to have skills. And people are like, what the fuck? That kind of defeats the purpose of the game. And so now they've introduced these specialist suits that give you better stats just to help, right? As an example, you have this juggernaut armor, right? It's supposed to be very, very good at things like shock damage absorption and knockback, right?
Sure. Well, when we're talking combat, all of that translates very well, and it makes a lot of sense to me.
Well,
Right?
let me keep going. Let
Okay.
me keep going. Now let's look at engineering. That since that's the one that you brought up, okay? A stat that I might see beneficial to an engineering suit is perhaps while you're wearing engineering specific clothing, you are far less susceptible to things like force reactions. So if there's somebody flying a ship around and there's all this moving and stuff, you're planted, you're not falling over because you're engineering, you're fixing things inside, right? It could be
Okay.
a stat as simple as that, right? If yeah, he says pockets. If we are mining, right? Maybe it has, increased heat resistance or shock resistance similar to the juggernaut, right? But with different stats that aren't necessarily so combat related,
Yeah, or
you know?
some resistance to explosion damage.
Right. Yeah,
Take a
exactly.
little bit less
Explosion
damage
damage.
if you blow something
Um
up.
maybe you're mining maybe you might have like a visor that is like you can't be blinded or something like it protects against flashbangs or stuff, right? But you have to have the full suit to take advantage of that.
Yeah, I could also
um
see it having some additional readout information
mhm.
relative to, the quality of the material that you're trying to mine, so that kind of thing. I could totally see that.
Yeah,
I suppose I
exactly.
see it with engineering. If you've got like a flight suit with an engineering helmet, you could have, again, there's lots of opportunity for heads up display differences in all of these gameplay loops. To have
Absolutely, yeah.
your helmet linked up with your ship, so you've got engineering information just streamed to you straight through your visor. You don't have to access it through a
Absolutely.
Mobi glass or through a console. At least maybe there's probably a few things that would be beneficial there. So I
Hmm.
suppose I could see some stuff like that. I guess I'm just
Yeah.
getting kind of stuck on, well, if I'm just wearing like a jumpsuit, how is that going to help me be better at anything?
Right. No, I get
But
that. I
yeah,
totally get
if
that,
there's
right?
some technology involved in it, then yeah, I suppose like it does kind of make sense. There's some ways that they could,
Yeah, and like
tie
with the
that stuff
charge
in.
and drain, the charge and drain mechanic, maybe a mining suit will have like built-in batteries so you don't have to fucking, refill your mining tools off and things like
There
that,
you
right?
go.
So that's kind of how I imagine these industrial suits looking, is that they
Oh,
increase
bandolier of fuses.
bandolier of fuses. There you go. Yeah, quick access fuses. Maybe it unlocks a new quick menu option like swap. Instead of remove and then put it in new hand in hand, maybe you get a quick action because you're wearing a bandolier. It gives you the ability to swap. You just right. That'd be kind of cool, right?
Yeah.
Just a little thing like that. The next question here, this one it really hits home to me and Phaedron probably. The extra pouches from 2953 still a thing? God, I hope so.
God, I
Right.
hope so. Yeah.
God, I hope so. Now, there's a lot. I mean, this is like it's like a modular clothing, right? And for those of you who did not see the 2953 presentation, I know we have a lot of new guys in the PFC recently. They demonstrated. This was kind of the first presentation of the more modern clothing system. They showed you in like colonialist clothing with essentially these slots, kind of like equipping armor today. These little blue circles, but it was for pockets, and you can kind of put these expandable storage options on your person. That way you weren't tied to wearing armor and having a big old backpack on there. You could have these little pockets, right? That's kind of a big deal for people like me because I like to wear regular clothing, right? I've always been one to sacrifice on the meta for cool things, and I think clothing is cool. So yeah, I'm pretty excited. I hope pockets are still a
Starware.
thing. Starwear. That's exactly right.
Yeah.
Exactly right.
So yeah, no. So when we're talking about dress to kill, of course, it's more than just you know, outfits that'll help you in a particular gameplay loop, right? It's also the idea that they've decoupled the need for armor pieces and various clothing pieces. They've decoupled that from the need to have an undersuit or what have you, so that you can wear whatever you want with whatever you want. And if that leads to having something that's space worthy, great. If it leads to something that's not space worthy, fine. But you can do what you want. So
Right.
I'm one of the things I'm looking forward to is that ability to take, say, like a Lynx chest piece and throw that over a regular shirt and some regular pants or whatever, right?
Right,
Maybe
absolutely, yeah, and put a trench coat over it, you know?
right, the trench coat. So, but that idea that, I mean, I don't even have to have an undersuit on in order to wear some protective gear is really kind of cool to me.
I agree completely. Yeah, most definitely. Most definitely. The next question, and I do hope that we get an answer for this because this has been a question that many of us have been asking for a long time. With the need for multiple specialized armors, will we see suit lockers enabled and more options for armor
Oh,
stowage, like storing the ship inventory as Starware is rolled out?
yeah,
I think the answer to this,
I certainly hope so.
I certainly hope so too. I think in order to answer, there's a second part to this question, and I hate to ask it because I hate asking these questions, but I think the better question is when are we going to see suit lockers rolled out? Right? Is it at the same time? Is it going to be later? Right? How soon are we expecting to see Starware rolled out? Sounded like it was something pretty, in the fairly near future. Going to use the air quotes again, near future, right? Probably in the next 12 months. Are we getting suit lockers at the same time? That would be fantastic. Love the idea of just
Yeah, it feels like that's one of the things that should kind of come in at about the same time because the revamp of what we can wear should, in my mind, come along with the revamp of how we can store the things that we can wear and how we interact with those things. So, making the suit lockers functional at that time, it feels like the timing would be right.
I think so too. I think so too. Most definitely. Okay, so here we are. Okay, so here's one that I don't necessarily care about, but I'm gonna ask it anyway because it's here. Got a lot of votes. Um, I'm a mod on the Star Citizen Ladies Night Out Discord, and I was excited to see some actual high fashion, as this was advertised. But we keep seeing you show off lots of utilitarian clothing. Are there any plans to bring the gorgeous concepts Jay Lee and others drew into the game? So we're going away from utilitarian clothing now and more to fashion citizen or star fashion, right?
I am on
Clothes that
board
are
with this because I'll tell you what, I hate, hate the vast majority of non-combat clothes that are available in the game. It's just like in so many ways, they've gone too far to be futuristic, right? And a lot of it's just like dumb and asymmetrical and weird shiny. And it's like, can we make some clothes that are just kind of cool, you know?
yeah, it's I know what you're trying to go for here. I think this post is taking it above and beyond. They're looking for like high fashion, right? I don't think I'd ever see you in high fashion. Um, but nonetheless, I think the question, at least as I see it, is what kind of range to clothing are we going to have? And it would be fantastic, I think, to see a wide range in clothing because there's a wide range of players. And I think that, within a setting like Star Citizen, the way you dress can be a very big way of expressing yourself in game, which we know is supposed to be important. So I do hope that we get that, even if I personally or you personally never take advantage of whatever high fashion they're talking about. I think it'd be fantastic to have that option to see. There's going to be different representations of different players. Okay, here. Next one. Can we get an update to the roles of armor sets that have been sold on the pledge store? So this is kind of cool, right? Because basically they're asking, if we've spent real money on these, are they going to provide some of these benefits that we have just been shown,
Yeah.
right?
So so like basically, is it going to be worth the money we spent,
Exactly,
or is
right?
it just going to be
Because
cosmetic garbage? I mean,
I mean, I
cosmetic
am a
garbage
big.
is great, but I'm just
I was
saying.
gonna say I do like cosmetic garbage. However, I can see this guy's point, right? If you're spending $5 to $10 to get a suit of armor,
Yeah,
right?
armor,
But then
right?
you
This is not
but then you
fashion.
go
This
in
is
game,
armor,
right? This is armor. But then you go in game, you say, "Ha, no, this guy that you just killed has better armor than the $10 you just spent, and now your $10 is comparatively useless." It could kind of leave a sour taste in your mouth, right?
right?
So even if these aren't like the best of the best items, and I don't think they should be, I feel like there should still be some tangible benefit to armors that you buy from the pledge store. They should have some sort of at least half decent stats as shown in the dress to kill panel. Um, that's my own 2 cents. Should be better than the cheapest, but you still have to work to get the best, I think. It's kind
Yeah,
of rough.
I don't think you should get the best by virtue of having spent that $5 or $10. But I
Agreed.
think that getting stuff that's better than that should require some real effort. I think
Agreed.
that it should be the crafting stuff. It should be,
Yeah,
it basically, I think that the stuff that you purchase should be top tier for what you would loot
I can get behind that.
or purchase.
I can get behind that. They talked about things having tiers, right? I could even see, and now we're just getting into pure speculation here, right?
Yeah, pure
I
spec.
could even see, you buy this armor from the pledge store, right? And you go to your crafting spot, right? And maybe this is already like a really good armor to begin with, and so maybe the cost of upgrading it to be top tier is less, right? Maybe it's already a tier up. Maybe instead of like a tier 1 armor, it comes default as a tier 2 armor, maybe as opposed to a tier 3, right?
Yeah, sure.
Couple different options here. But either way, I do hope that there is some tangible benefit in game for buying these armors and giving this money. Next question. Here's a really good one, and I hope that we get an answer for this. Will flying with backpacks still be possible, or will we need to stow them? I think this
Fly-
sort of goes in line with the
Mm,
suit lockers, right?
yeah. Ultimately, I mean, hopefully the intent is that as they start making it detrimental or difficult or not possible to get into a cockpit with certain armors, putting those kind of restrictions on the backpack should also be a thing. Have you ever tried to sit like in a chair or on a bench on a bus or something, or like heaven forbid, get just a seat of your car and trying to drive with a fucking backpack on?
Yeah, it sucks.
I mean, can you do it? Yeah, sure, I guess. But Jesus.
I'm gonna pedal back just a second. Phaedron and Chimera here are talking about a couple of things. It says the real question will be: can armor, pledged, looted, whatever, can be upgraded like ships and components can be tiered up? They actually did talk about this, and the answer is yes. Armor and FPS weapons can be upgraded and tiered up. Goes up to tier 3. Ships and their components can go up to tier 5. Is what I'm understanding, right? So there's different levels for these different things, but virtually everything that can be crafted can be tiered up, is what I understood. But especially armor, FPS weapons, ships, and their components. Um, but anyway, moving back on, I'm not sure that flying with backpacks is going to be possible. They did say you'll be able to fly with heavy armor. It's just going to be detrimental to you. You're not going to get the full range of motion. You may lose out on things like stability or responsiveness. So it's going to be beneficial for you to change out of your heavy armor to fly, and even
Yeah.
more so still to have a dedicated flight suit on.
Yeah, well, that being the case, then those locker suits. I guess in a lot of cases, the locker suits are pretty close to the cockpit. I think that's important. So, I
I think
think
so
they're
too.
they're already thinking about that, which is good.
Yeah, I think in ships like the Crusader Hercules line, you have that sort of walk to the bridge, and there's like suit lockers along that door. I think next to where the or are those
Not
the
not
escape
not
pods?
not in the Hercules. In the
Those
Hercules,
might be the
the
escape
suit
pods.
lockers. I know, like in the M series, the M is it the M2? It's back in like way back left
Oh, like
side.
in the
Like
armory.
yeah, the port side aft in the armory is where those
Got it.
are.
Okay. Well, oh well, doesn't matter. Corsair has it right there in the captain's suite, so
Yeah,
I'm
well, in
chilling.
that particular case, the idea is that that's where your drop folks are, right? That's where you've got the drop seats and the guns and stuff. So the people that your Marine contingent would be back there. They would suit up, they would arm up, and then they would depart the ship. So
That
I
makes
mean, it makes
sense.
it makes sense where it's at. It's just clearly not for the pilot. And I think probably the idea there is that if you're piloting something like that, what do you need armor for? You're
Yeah.
piloting a
I
big
mean,
fucking
yeah,
ship, dude. You
that's
just
fair.
be
That's
the
fair.
pilot like you're supposed to.
Alrighty. Next question is just parachutes? Question mark. What do you think about parachutes? Question mark.
I think parachutes would be neat, but then again, so would jetpacks, and I don't think
I
we're getting
was
either
yeah.
of those anytime soon.
Soon, absolutely not. But between the two, I think jetpacks would be the way to go. Right? I've said this for probably 2 years now. At this point, jetpacks would be a fantastic addition if you limited it to take
Hey, Uncle
off.
Dinosaur. Thank you very much for that.
Thank you for that, Dino. Really appreciate that. Take off your backpack, put on a jetpack, right? You lose the storage, so you're pretty much stuck with what you've got on you. But now you've got a little bit of mobility, right? And now obviously you have limits to like fuel and heat. So you can't just sit there and fly everywhere. Um,
Hey,
but
Chimera Red says, parachutes not so much. Jetpack, yes, but parachutes not so much. I think, depending on the cost structure, how they structure the cost of these things, parachutes could be really beneficial to like early players, people who don't have a lot of money to spend on a jetpack if they make their jetpack fairly expensive or difficult to maintain, for example,
mhm.
to have a parachute that would allow you to land safely from jumping from a ship and then go get into FPS that's relatively inexpensive, easy to, reset or recharge or whatever the word would be. I
Yeah,
think I think
definitely.
I think that there's probably a place for parachutes, but if you have a
Especially like
jetpack, then maybe the jetpack is better because jump out, get close to the ground, land. Plus, a
yeah,
parachute can be quieter, right? So if you're trying to be stealthy, it's not gonna make the noise that a jetpack will.
that's a fantastic point, and the point that I was also going to make alongside that, which are all good, is right now you eject from your ship and you're just fucked. You're just fucking out there. If you're in atmosphere, you're dead. And so adding something like a parachute to your ejecto seat, even though we're 1,000 years in the future, you still fall. You still need something to slow you down. Parachutes are good. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. Right. Yeah,
Yeah,
where
but
we are in 2954.
ejection seats, that's a whole nother conversation there. Like ejection
Maybe we
seats in a
don't.
spaceship. Like, hold on.
But except that they're still fighters, right? They're fighter crafts. They
Some of them,
operate.
yeah.
Well, yeah, a lot of them that you're in the cockpit and you're ejecting straight out the cockpit. Most of those are fighter ships,
That's fair.
right? And so yeah, and a lot of those are doing yes space fighting. Parachute doesn't matter there, but you do find yourself in atmospheric conditions on planets fairly frequently. Take Jumptown for an easy example, right? You are in Jumptown, you get shot, you get soft death, you eject. Why bother ejecting, right? You're gonna land, you're gonna break your legs, you're gonna die. So anyway, we'll move on from parachutes. Short answer, yes, would be awesome. Okay, here we go. Next one. We have seen showcases of specific armor specializations like heavy combat and heavy tracker. Will we see armor variations with different types like light tracker and medium combat? And how will those full set bonuses differ from the shown examples?
Stealth armor.
Yeah, I kind of agree with you, right? A stealth armor, very, very quiet, and they did talk about like that a little bit, even though it was still, a heavy tracker. It's kind of quiet, but light tracker would probably be closer to the sniper armor that they showed, right? They showed a marksman armor, which was super, super light, had virtually no signature. I think that's what that would look like. As far as a medium combat goes, I'm not sure where that would shine in terms of, if damage reduction or radar detection. I'm not exactly sure how a medium would look. What about you?
I'm not sure. Not sure. As soon as I said stealth and you started talking, I started thinking, how cool would it be to have some armor that has like a little radar jammer in it, so that in essence, in like some peer area around you, you're essentially just like a big area of static, and they're like somebody's there in there somewhere, but we don't know where. That'd be kind of
That's
cool.
interesting. They did talk about the sniper armor being essentially invisible to scopes. So if somebody was scanning, you just would not pop up. It doesn't affect an area, but you specifically are hidden, which is kind of cool, right? But yeah, I don't know how medium combat would look considering, it's supposed to be in excess of things like shock protection, damage protection, or
Yeah,
radar
so
detection,
just regular medium combat. So I mean, that would have to be a balance of protection and speed, of stealth and I don't know.
maybe they could do something like a combat armor, a medium combat armor if you're wearing a full set and it's a specialist armor, does things like reduces recoil, right? Like maybe it's got some shock absorption built in where it reduces recoil fairly significantly, right? That could be kind of a way it balances. A heavy one, you're not going to take a lot of damage. You're really resistant to shock damage, but maybe it's heavy. Maybe recoil is kind of bad, right? Whereas a medium armor, you're not quite as resistant, still pretty okay, but you have a lot more control over something like an automatic rifle. Um, Different way
Hmm.
to balance it might work out, right? That's just kind of what I'm
Sure.
thinking. Okay. Another question. What can you tell me about non-combat specialization clothing? Is it still planned to block heavy armor users from sitting in dropship seats? This is I don't think that they're banned from sitting in dropship seats. I see no reason why they would do that. They talked about, I guess, explained it in the Legionnaire Q&A that heavy armor users wouldn't be able to use dropship seats. I don't think that's going to be the case at all. Uh, how about dual wielding? Question mark. What do you think there?
Dual wielding. Like dual guns, huh? I mean, maybe dual pistols I could see. Um, I think currently it's pretty much you anything that you carry that's like a pistol, it's in the right hand. Like everybody's right-handed. You get one, and that's it, and they're double-handed. I think there's probably more technologically there for them to be able to do that than we should expect to see in the short term. It would be cool to be able to like go akimbo with a couple of pistols. Um, I If they go that far, maybe like a light machine gun or a light assault rifle. I could see them
Like a
maybe
like a
doing
P
something like that.
like a P8 SMG variant?
Yeah, maybe not an FS9, but sure, maybe a P8 or a P4.
P4 even. Wow, wow. Yeah, it'd be cool. It'd be cool, I think. But I think they should limit it to things like pistols,
So what is it? The
right?
CS54? Is that what that is? That
Oh,
maybe
the
one of those.
C54, C54.
Yeah, maybe
Yeah,
those. Those aren't super
maybe.
huge.
I would have to disagree just on the SMGs. They're already super good, and at close ranges they should be. But dual wielding pistols, I think I'd be a huge fan
Well,
of that.
yeah. Here's the thing, though, right? You can't tell me that single arming a rifle that you would have the kind of control that you have holding it right. So if you're dual wielding them, yeah, maybe you're flailing some lead out there, but you wouldn't have the ability to control it, either one of them, that you would have. So I think if they were to go that route, there would be a trade off in control and accuracy that you would make in favor of just dumping a bunch of energy bolts or lead down range and hoping that you hit something.
Yeah, I don't know.
I,
Kind of defeats the purpose of that point, I think. But
well, I mean, if you want to go
I
Rambo,
mean,
blah, 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 blah.
yeah, yeah, I see what you're saying. I don't think I could ever support that. But that's just me personally, right? I'm not CIG. But dual wield pistols, absolutely, I could
Yeah,
totally get behind that.
yeah, that's
I'm
equally
gonna
dumb, by the way, in reality. But whatever.
Yes, I am going to throw out my own question here, and this is dual wielding comment. Simply, kind of put it in my head. Right now we have knives. Okay, we have knives. We also know that the Van Duel are a pretty heavily melee focused combat race, right? They do a lot of hand to hand combat, right?
Oh,
Are we going to see any sort of improved melee combat mechanics?
that would be kind of cool, right? Like
Right?
larger melee weapons, two-handed melee
Like
weapons,
exactly.
like
Could we
energy
get
melee weapons of some kind.
mhm, energy melee weapons? Even if you could craft a sword lined with hadonite, that would be awesome,
Yeah,
right?
even something that's just larger than a knife, more bayonet style, right? Which
Hmm.
would allow you to that'd be really good, really
It
cool.
would be, and if they could have like an actually decent mechanic where you got with somebody, because right now all you can do is fucking shk, 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 right? But if they had different types of weapons and different types of attacks, and maybe you could there was a block mechanic in place where you could block people. Right now you have to like walk backwards and you put your hands up and it does okay. But having I think having some melee combat,
Oh,
so some really decent melee combat could go a long way, right? I think I've always loved this idea of this kind of grungy sort of sci-fi um, setting. With dude has a sword on his back, right? Fucking love it.
Sure. Yeah. No, I'm imagining like one of those so like a police baton, like they got the police baton with the
Oh
handle on
yeah,
it.
yeah, yeah,
So
yeah.
but like throw a blade on that. So you've got
That'd be
like the
sick.
yeah, wouldn't it? That'd be cool as hell. Like a minute energy. Anyway, obviously speculation and just a little bit of theory crafting and dreaming at this point. But yeah, the Tanfa. But man, that would
Okay.
be cool.
Chimera, you say some of the devs have talked about creating melee weapons. If you have a link for that, I would love to look into that because that excites me a little bit. So going beyond that, we're just getting some kind of hodgepodge questions here. Nothing too great. A couple of repeats, right? Um, here's a good one though. Many games, including Star Citizen, have gear for hot and cold environments. However, has the team considered specializing clothing tailored to help in traversing places like jungles and swamps or different biomes? We do know that swamps, you're going to be kind of like mucking around in the water a little bit, right?
Yeah, having some waders would be real handy.
I agree. I agree. Are we going to be able to like climb trees, and are there going to be um, suits tailored to that with maybe spikes on the boots, right?
Yeah,
Are we
like the
going to get?
boots or the claw things for your climbing up the
Could you
tree.
imagine?
Sure.
Could you imagine climbing up these redwood trees and putting on a squirrel suit and gliding from tree to tree? Could you imagine that?
Ugh, I don't know about all that, man. That seems like an awful lot. A redwood, man.
Fucking tall ass tree just gliding. Get
See,
these tree houses built
I
in there.
imagine I'm imagining you jump off and you're like, oh crap, trees, and immediately start.
Back. Yeah, no, I don't think we'll ever get anything like that. Probably no climbing trees, no squirrel suits, but it would be cool. Some biome specific clothing I think would be cool. What I would like to see though, biome specific, is and this is another fantastic question for this panel. Customization, things like paints. We're gonna be able to color our own clothing, right? Because I
Dies.
think it ties exactly. Because I think the specialist for these different biomes not going to be as important, right? If you're wearing like a flight suit, it's going to be waterproof enough for a swamp, right? You're not going to get wet, right? If you are walking through a forest, you're not going to need anything like super special for that, right? Maybe something different for like an acid cave, but
Yeah,
let's
acid
we'll get
cave,
there later, right?
extreme temperatures.
Right, and that's easy enough to do, I think. But camouflage in those items is a different is a different question, right? If I want to have my armor
Sure.
and I want to go from maybe a desert to a jungle, can I paint my armors to match? I think that's a big question. I'm actually surprised we haven't seen that here because if Star Wars is supposed to be like the big clothing and armor thing,
Sure.
customization,
Yeah.
right? In fact, I might put this question in there myself since nobody has quite yet. But I'll wait until after the podcast to do so. I'll share a link to the Discord if you guys want to go upvote it. And,
Yeah. Imagine a chameleon suit, right? So
oh
that you
my
can,
god, yeah. Whew.
right? Maybe it
Talk
doesn't
about
have a
stealth.
maybe it doesn't have a whole lot of protection, but you can like just turn it from brown to green, right?
Stand up against the wall.
Right? That'd be cool
That'd
as
be kind
hell.
of cool. That would be kind of cool. Any updates on the Titan suit? Titan suit. We talked a couple of weeks ago.
Mm-hmm.
We know that there's a Titan suit in some sort of game files. I'm glad that Spectre01 here hasn't forgotten about it.
Yeah, there's the
Um,
Titan suit in the game files, and then also obviously the proof of concept of a mechanized armor in the Atlas. So
absolutely.
it's not like they haven't been working in that realm. So having something with a gun or maybe a little extra protection on it certainly is feasible.
Here we go. How will the scanner armor types work in terms of power? So this has to do with the FPS radar and scanning mechanic that we don't have yet. But my own kind of speculation here is those suits that are tailored to be FPS radar and scanning specific are probably going to have built-in battery packs,
That's what I was
right?
going to say. Yeah,
It
and
probably
it makes
be
sense.
subject to the charge and drain mechanic that we know is coming.
It should be. If it's not, it really should be.
Okay. When are we gonna get actual helmets instead of boxes when we take them off? That's kind of a question. Here we go.
I think the answer to that is when we have a place to put helmets.
do you mean when we have a place to put helmets?
Well, I mean, what? It would just be like this helmet-shaped geometry bouncing around on the ground.
Well, no, dude. The animation exists where you take it off and you hold it underneath your arm.
Yeah, it's. I
That
guess that's an
animation
old.
exists.
I guess
And
that's
then
an
and
old
then
animation, isn't it?
yeah, and then you could just whoosh and set it down somewhere, and there'd be a helmet on the table, and you pick it back up, you put it on. You know, it all exists. It works. It's there.
Hmm.
But anyway, will the gear be able to be insured like ships? Um, don't know. I think at the very least, things like pledge store armors you should be able to retrieve, and I think that that's coming soon with things like our inventory kiosks. That'd be kind of nice, right? There's probably going to be like a fetch items option there. Bu- 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 bu-
Oh, excuse me.
Yeah, I mean that's going to be most of what I'm seeing here. Here we go. Here's a good question. I think we can probably end it on this as far as this segment here. Will the bag head ever be able to be used as an emergency vacuum
I hope.
helmet?
My gosh, they really need to.
I agree.
You
I
know,
agree.
the baghead. I'll tell you. I was in the Navy, and
Yes.
those are a real thing. They are a legit real thing. I remember they even like taught us, where they were, how to use them, and it's literally a bag. You put it over your head, and it's like, oh, it's the coolest thing. It absolutely
That's
happens.
amazing. That is amazing. Yes, I do hope that they bring back, like you said, there was a patch a few years back. You could wear the bag and vacuum. I don't know if that was a bug or not, but it did work. I hope they bring it back.
Yeah, the bag
Even
and vacuum really should just pop.
it really should, but it would be awesome if it were like some sort of like really really thick sort of plasticky materials, or really really sturdy. I guess it doesn't have to be thick, but
Well, because
sturdy.
it's got to seal against your neck.
That's true. Oh yeah, that's true. It does have to seal against your neck. Oh my goodness. We'll have to see how that works out. Huh.
Ugh,
But that would be cool. I mean, that's all I
terrifying.
have on this. But lots of questions. I'm actually kind of surprised to see that most of the questions are revolving around clothing and armor specifically, considering the Dress to Kill panel was also where they showed off fauna and monster hunting. I was expecting to see a little bit more questions in those regards
Mm.
because it was all the same panel. It's kind of weird that they put fauna and monster hunting in the Dress to Kill panel, but I think they just wanted to show off the specialist armors and stuff alongside.
Yeah,
Um,
it might have been incidental. It's like, well, we don't have a place specifically to talk about these things, and we've got room in this panel. It may not be specifically related. So
Well, nonetheless, it was in the panel. I'm surprised I haven't seen any more questions about it. But that's all I've got on that. With that, we're really just sort of waiting now on IAE. It's kind of exciting. I'm sitting kind of at the edge of my seat, wanting to see what the sneak peek ship is because it's kind of driven me insane a little bit. Rev, not gonna lie to you. I really like square, boxy, industrial looking things. I mean, I'm a Drake flyer, right?
well,
So
I like big chunky things. So I'm
yeah.
equally interested to see what the hell it is, because that was not a small ship. It looked
No,
like the kind of
no.
ship that either has an elevator entry or a big fucking ramp.
Yeah, right, right. But I mean, again, if it is a consolidated Outland ship, it might just be a ladder.
It might just be a ladder. Yeah,
Oh my
that'd be
goodness.
something.
Alrighty. Well, guys, I think that's about it for today. That's we had a fun conversation, a lot of speculation. We'll be back 8 days from today, Wednesday, whatever day that is. It's 13th, Wednesday the 13th, I think. But we'll be
right.
back then. Hopefully, we'll have some more fun things to talk about. We'll see how if 324.3, excuse me, is live by then. And if we have an answer to our sneak peek, that'd be fantastic. But that's gonna be it for now. If you have not, I mean, this is going on YouTube, so I'm gonna throw this out here. If you do watch this on YouTube, please like it because it does help. If you're watching live on Twitch or on YouTube, subscriptions are fantastic. Otherwise, come hang out with us in the Discord. It's running along the bottom here. I'm sure you've seen it, discord.gg/pfcs. We play pretty much every day, and we'll see you around and catch you on Wednesday the 13th.
Yep, appreciate everybody coming out. We'll catch you next time.
No more stars to chase, no sky to roll. Drunk with the devils on Grim Hex's floor. Bought every treasure, but still craved more. The fleet always hunted, but I slipped away. But now my luck's gone, and the skies turn gray. Every jump I make feels colder now, like the weight of my sins is pulling me down. My crew is gone, and I'm all alone. I built my empire on stolen bones. And oh, I sail through the dark, cut through the stars with a sinner's heart. But the price of the chase is paid in blood. A pirate's life is written in the dust and the mud. Now the echoes of the dead, they call me home. No more stars to chase, no sky to roam. The Yui's coming, I see their lights, but I won't run this time, not from this fight. Let them take me, let them have their due. A pirate's end was always in view. I live by the sword, now I'll die the same. No regrets, no fear, no one to blame. The stars were my love, but they loved me not. Now I'm just another name they'll soon forget. And oh, I sail through the dark, cut through the stars with a sinner's heart. But the price of the chase is paid in blood. A pirate's life is written in the dust and the mud. Now the echoes of the dead, they call me home. No more stars to chase, no sky to roam. Could fly back to that distant dawn before the void pulled me in and all was gone. Would I choose this path of fire and theft, or would I seek the light before there's nothing left? And oh, I sail through the dark, cut through the stars with a sinner's heart. But the price of the chase is paid in blood. A pirate's life is written in the dust and the mud. Now the echoes of the dead, they call me home. No more stars to chase, no